Number 3. I hope that the first 2 videos have been real helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed the free ebook. And I just wanted to touch base with you and give you some more strategies. We're going to go through 3 more strategies today that I think are really helpful. I just want you to remember too that when you are balanced in your head, your heart, and your home, you're able to role model for your children, and you're helping them deal with strong emotions, negative thoughts, and learning how to take care of their own body. And that's super important. And when you're out of balance, parenting is so much more difficult, and the relationship with your child becomes more difficult and more fractured, and fear enters instead of love. And so, as you know, as you've gotten to know me a little bit over the last couple weeks, it's just important to remember that this is all love-based, and this is really, the purpose is to help you fall in love even further with your child and with yourself as a parent. And so, strategy number 4 really helps us with our head and our heart and our home, and it's all about having a crisis plan. So I always think it's kind of interesting that, you know, big corporations have crisis plans, police officers have crisis plans, schools have crisis plans, but we as parents don't. And so it's important to think through what your options are for a crisis plan. So I think it's pretty simple. A crisis is a dramatic, emotional, or circumstantial upheaval in a person's life. And every crisis can look a little bit differently. I think kids are in crisis a lot. And I think we as parents don't have to be in crisis when they're in crisis. So let's talk through a couple options of crisis planning. So step 1, I think it's important that if you start to feel like you're going into the crisis with them, that you separate from the kiddo. You want to make sure they're safe. You want to make sure that you're safe. I'm not saying leave the house. I'm not saying, you know, leave the kid, but I'm saying separate. Put them in your room, in their room, put them in the living room, you go into a different room, and then you, and if you're parenting with someone else, then you and your co-parent chat about what your options are. If you're a single parent, then call somebody, get them on the horn, say, hey, I'm in the middle of a crisis, let me talk this through with you. Build that system, that support system for yourself. So they might be in a different room, you're in a different room, and then step 2, communicate. Talk about a plan. Think of what's going on. You know, most decisions are not life or death decisions. They do not have to be made right in this moment. So separate and talk about your options. Then you implement the plan. After you've developed the plan, you implement the plan. And I would always say that the person who is the calmest should implement it first. It's important that the person who is calmest re-engages with the kiddo, because remember that if the kiddo thinks you're in crisis right along with them, then they don't feel safe. It's like having that police officer say, what the hell were you doing? We don't want them to help us. We want someone who's calm to help us. So get yourself under control. Have your spouse get himself or herself under control. Have your, you know, the other co-parent, if there is one, get under control. And if you're a single parent, maybe you just hand the phone to the kiddo and have whoever's on the other end talk to that kiddo. That's okay to do that. Call in backup if needed. You know, take a break. A lot of times it's okay to take, you know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 24 hours to decide on what you need to do. Some situations, in true crisis situations, it's okay to take your time to determine what the plan needs to be. And then at the end of that crisis, once you've kind of gotten through it, repair the relationship. You know, apologize, let the child apologize. And, you know, a crisis could last 2 minutes. It could last 2 weeks. Depends on the age of the child, depends on what the crisis is. A crisis could be not getting their own way, the kid not getting what they want. The crisis could be not getting to go somewhere. The crisis could be just having a really strong emotion and not knowing what to do with it. The crisis could be the death of someone. You know, crises they're millions, so it's hard to cover all of the options. If you're having a crisis at your house that you're struggling with and you want me to weigh in on, email me. I'd be happy to give you some insight into what I think could happen. Stacy@bewhatsright.com. Strategy number 5, all about communicating with your child or your teenager and sharing control in choices. I think sometimes we ask kids, what do you want to do? But that is too broad of a question. So give them choices. Choice A is this, choice B is this, And then be clear. If you do choice A, then all of these things happen. If you do choice B, then all of these things happen. The kiddo's going to make their choice. Make it very simple. Choice A, choice B. If you choose A, then this happens. If you choose B, then this happens. Kiddo makes a choice. Maybe they make a negative choice. Maybe they make the wrong choice, or a choice that is not as helpful for them, and they might have an emotional reaction. And then you follow through with what the consequences or what the results are from their choice, and you provide empathy. Yeah, it's a bummer. When you choose to get up from dinner without eating all your food, then you don't get a snack before bedtime. That's a bummer. We'll get through it, and you let them cry, you let them have that emotional reaction, and then you give them empathy, and you support them. And then once they get through the emotional reaction, you just give them love. Offering empathy is not offering permission for how they're acting. Offering empathy is just that. They're saying, it's struggle, it's hard, I understand what happened is a bummer, but you'll get through it. It's offering them support. Strategy number 6. This is a huge strategy, and I sometimes forget that sometimes we grow up with our baggage, and we didn't learn healthy boundaries. And so boundaries. Sometimes we bring into our life way more chaos than it needs to be. So if you're going through a difficult time with your kiddo, I want you to think about this is you and your family. It's just a small little circle. You and your family. And that is what is important. Right now, my husband and I are going through some major transitions in our life. We're going to move, we're going through some business changes, and really what we can focus on right now is us. It's hard to take on a lot of other things in our life because we've got to just focus on our little family, him and me and our 2 kiddos. And then the next circle are things that are out of our control or things that we want in our life. So sometimes, you might be going through financial problems, bankruptcy. You might be going through, in our case, we're trying to sell a house and to sell a building, and those are things that maybe are a little bit out of our control, and we don't really have any options. I mean, we could put the house on the market, but after that, there's not a lot we can do. This might look like maybe some medical issues that we don't have control over, and then the other side of that is things that add value. You want to bring things into your life that add value, that don't stress you out. And then the third part of the boundaries are all other things. So maybe you have some relatives that are a little bit difficult to be around, or they're hard to deal with, or they're in their own crisis. It's okay to set limits and say, I've just got to focus on my family right now. So take those 3 strategies, crisis planning, try them out in your home, sharing control by giving real limited choices, and then offering empathy. And then the third one is setting boundaries. Try those out for the next couple days, and I'll send you a video here pretty soon. And, pass these videos on to your friends if you think they're helpful, because I think the more that your people in your life understand what you're learning and what you're trying to implement, the easier it'll be for you. So good luck to you, and I'll see you in a couple days. Thanks.